Okay, there are 4 types of microorganisms that can contaminate food and cause foodborne illness: bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi.
And there are 6 conditions that support the growth of these harmful foodborne microorganisms.
With the exception of viruses, you can remember these 6 conditions if you use the acronym FATTOM.
Those initials stand for food, acidity, temperature, time, oxygen, and moisture. Let's take a look at the first condition, the food itself. Just like people, foodborne pathogens need nutrients to grow. They typically need carbohydrates and proteins. You can find these in food like meat, poultry, dairy products, cooked rice, pasta, and eggs. The second condition needed for microorganisms to grow is a proper level of acidity. Pathogens grow best in food that contains little or no acid. Now, the next condition on the list is temperature. Foodborne pathogens grow well on food that's between the temperatures of 41 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 and 57 Celsius. We call this the temperature danger zone. Food has got to be handled very carefully when it's thawed, cooked, cooled, and reheated. That's because when you're doing any of these things, it could be exposed to the temperature danger zone.
Time is another important determining factor in the growth of foodborne pathogens. Under the right conditions, pathogens are capable of doubling their population every 20 minutes.
If certain food remains in the temperature danger zone for 4 hours or longer, foodborne pathogens can grow to levels high enough to make someone sick.
Oxygen is another factor. Some foodborne pathogens require oxygen to grow, while others grow without any oxygen.
Large quantities of improperly hot-held foods, such as soups, stews, and sautéed vegetables, have been associated with certain types of bacteria that grow without oxygen.
Now, moisture is the last condition you need to consider. Foodborne pathogens require moisture to grow. I want to underscore just how important all this FATTOM information is. Just last week, I had a patient admitted through emergency.
Young woman in her teens. She was experiencing severe nausea and vomiting. She was also running a fever and complained of severe abdominal cramping and diarrhea.
Now, this may not sound like a world-class emergency to you, but when I asked her how she felt at the time, she told me she felt like she was dying, and she was very afraid.
Later that evening, another case came through. An elderly man with his wife. Same symptoms. He was also suffering from dehydration. He couldn't even stand up. This looked like a foodborne illness to me, so I took some samples for testing and put the patients into supportive care.
Long story short, we got all the test results back, and it was salmonellosis.
I notified the local health department, and they got an investigation rolling. Within days, they turned up 18 similar cases at 5 other local hospitals and clinics. The investigation revealed that all the affected patients ate at the same buffet here in town, and they all had the chicken salad. It turns out that the cook didn't check the final internal temperature of the chicken, leading the investigators to believe that the chicken was undercooked. This allowed the salmonella to survive the cooking process. Then, matters were made worse by improperly cooling it at room temperature after cooking. This created ideal conditions for the salmonella bacteria to multiply in the food.
All the patients recovered, including those that were hospitalized, but it was tough for all of them. They were here for a week, and that's a long time to feel miserable. So now you see why everyone needs to take FATTOM very seriously. You have to control the conditions that support the growth of these harmful foodborne microorganisms, and do it all the time.